Millions of tourists flock to Morocco each year to enjoy the sun, to exploit young and vulnerable people, male and female, for sex. Young people featured in our report haven't made a career choice. They're trapped in a cycle of exploitation, many having fallen victim to the AIDS virus, and all have been used, some even abused, illegally. The plight of young people forced into selling themselves to sex tourists has been brought into sharp focus after allegations a French minister went to Morocco to have sex with young boys.
Morocco hosts 8 million tourists every year, and all pass through the main Jemaa el-Fna Square. But after nightfall, a different kind of tourist comes out to play. Men, alone, on the hunt for easy prey. To get a closer look, France 24 had to film with a hidden camera. And it wasn't long before our crew was approached.
Hello, mate. What are you looking for? You want sex? I got what you need. I can get anything here. I've got kids. Come on, have a chat with them and there you go. It's not expensive. 30 euros.
We decided not to go any further. But just a few minutes later, our new acquaintance had come back with a 17-year-old youth in tow, along with a price list. 30 euros for the night. Jemaa el-Fna Square is under permanent surveillance by the tourist police and 16 cameras. But that still hasn't stopped this foreigner from negotiating a liaison with a young boy on a bike, just a few meters from the police station. Few are surprised by the practice anymore. It's become as much a part of Marrakesh as the cobbled streets. This is Samir. HIV positive, he's worked as a male prostitute on the square for 4 years. His ordeal began at the age of just 12, after meeting a man who offered him a chance to make some easy money. Like thousands of other children, Samir was quickly brought into a paedophile network. When it happens, recruitment goes into overdrive, and soon, kids are approached directly.
One day I was playing pool. A French guy came over to see me. He offered me some money, and I followed him. And that's how it began. They asked me to sleep with them. I didn't understand at all at the beginning what was happening. They made me physically and psychologically ill. Because of them, I had no will at all. And now I just feel bad.
Samir comes from Mellah, one of Marrakesh's poorer districts. You won't see any tourists there. Samir dropped out of school to work the streets and earn some money. At the time, he was alone supporting his family.
It was easy money. There are a lot of tourists looking for kids in Marrakesh. They've got money, and we've got nothing. So what do you think? We have to sell ourselves. Our families are poor. They refuse to let us come home in the evening if we're not bringing back any money. And when that happens, what are you going to do? We have to feed our families any way we can. It's become ordinary.
After the tsunami, you saw sex tourists who had been rampant throughout Southeast Asia. They poured into Morocco. The country has been like some kind of haven for them, thanks to Moroccan authorities.
Our biggest concern is getting to a real state of prevention. We're looking at all zones of risk in our areas. That's at the heart of our work.
Gillies is a well-known hotspot for prostitution in Marrakesh. By day, the well-heeled district is a meeting point for trendy young Moroccans, and its shops draw in many foreign tourists. You can buy anything in Gillies, even human beings. As dusk falls, prostitutes begin to appear along the pavement. Often, like these two girls, they're extremely young. Hotels in the area offer a chance for a more discreet encounter. This man at the front desk is booking a room for the night with some female company. For people who prefer the other sex, you just have to take an outside seat at one of the cafes. Solicitation can be circumspect.
Hey, how you doing? I work with tourists.
You're a tour guide.
Well, no, not exactly. I know tourists, but I'm not a guide.
What do you mean?
I sell sex.
How much is it?
I have a French friend who comes to Marrakesh for 1 week a year. He gives me 50 euros a day to live with him while he's here.
Samir has eaten nothing for 2 days and still refuses to look after himself.
No one is helping me find any work. The only thing you can do here is steal, sell drugs, or sell yourself to the tourists. I don't want to do it, but I need money to live. Who's going to give me a job? I'm looking, but I have no illusions. Everyone knows my story here in Marrakesh.
Samir has nowhere to go but back to Jamal Fna Square, where his ordeal first began. For those trapped in the sex industry, there's little in the way.
Shocking stuff in your report, made all the more disturbing by these allegations that a French politician had been involved in this kind of behaviour. So why do these young people, boys, girls, fall into prostitution?
The reason is a facility. It's quite easy, and it's much easier to simply sell their bodies. And the demand is quite strong and increasingly strong in Morocco.
The families are aware sometimes of what's going on. It's a horrible situation.
Extremely complicated in any case. At least for these children, their families are poor. These families have many children, and the children must work. The situation is as following. They're tourists, they have money, and what do the tourists want? Well, traditionally they will buy souvenirs, but in Marrakesh it's quite more complicated. Since the tsunami in South Asia, many of the sex offenders moved from Southern Asia to Morocco, because it's just as cheap and less complicated to go to Morocco now. The families want the money, but they do not want to hear about what their children are doing.
How about the authorities? Are they doing all they can to stop this?
They're overwhelmed. They're overwhelmed and are living out a contradiction. They do not want to scare tourists away. The good old tourist that comes to Marrakesh, Morocco is not Thailand. It's a lot of jet-set tourism. There are families that go there for tourism as well, but there are also sex offenders, of course. And they do not understand that by tackling this issue, they could free these children. They would rather not talk about the issue to not scare tourism away. Tourism accounts for 10 billion euros a year for Morocco.